celebrated.
We find ourselves in Tupelo, a city in northeastern Mississippi, less than an hour's drive east of some of the best college football in the United States, Ole Miss. But we are seeking connections to the human story, our story, and the power of food.
You had to drink tears of water, but won't God make a way? Won't God wrap his arms around you? Yeah, won't do it. But Tupelo, Mississippi, I came to be a witness to tell you, God won't make a way. I'm a little witness God to do it. So many times he did it for me, and I know he'll do it for you. God bless you to the Lord. But you ought to lift your hand right there. It's all I know the Lord. Yes, sir. I know it ain't over. Good God Almighty, yes, sir. You ought to wave your hand and you know what I'm saying, y'all. For the fight. Keep your hand in the master's hand for the fight. Yeah, yes, sir, for the fight. Every time I turn around, you keep on making ways for me. Oh, Lord. If you know when the fight is not over, lift your hand and come to sing. For the fight. Oh, yeah. For the fight is not over. I don't know who I'm talking to today, but anybody can wave your hand and say, I had to shed tears sometime. Anybody can lift your hand and say, it got hard sometime. But I need this whole ground to come unglued when I tell you, out of all the people that died in Tupelo with the COVID-19, you still here by the grace of God. And I know
Tupelo, Mississippi, or the SIP, as referred to by locals. Tupelo was founded in 1870, and the site where we were for this class, All Saints Episcopal Church, also founded in 1870. Oftentimes, Lauren McElwain, founder of Cooking as a First Language, would host these classes in her home, but the church was the site of our class today, led by Talvin Grice. A Mississippi native and custodian at a local school, we learned two things quickly about Talvin: that cooking is one of his languages and poetry is another. In 2015, he published To Leave Me for What?, a collection of poetry that spans so many topics, from his reflection on 9/11 to exploring the damaging effects of drug abuse and addiction. But cooking is also a joy for him. Cooking by the time he was 12 or 13, even as he cooked during class, he would reminisce about his parents and how his dad cooked meals for the entire neighborhood. Today, he made everything from fried hamburger sandwiches on cornbread with homemade gravy and sautéed onions to barbecue sauce, ribs, chicken, and potatoes, showing us his version of Southern fare.
I got the barbecue we already got prepared after I cooked it last night. We got the real pulled pork, chicken. But this little dish right here is a little something quick. They call a hot stick special. It's gonna be fried hamburger, cornbread muffin, onion, and gravy. And you can eat it now or later. But I'm gonna put an aroma so you don't smell nothing. The season I use all these right here. I use every one of them. They buy me Tile Big Star one, I know they carry this type. You know, you want to grab one and shake it on your food, shake it in your hand. Now the best way to learn how to cook is know your season. And no heat makes seasoning come like you can taste it with your mouth, but heat open it up, make sure you You always want to use lightly instead of heavy. Because you tell you with your hand, it just tastes like seasoning. You put heat to it, it boil up up. We're going to start out with these. They've been prepared. I put, you see them seasoning, one of them called Montreal steak seasoning, Worcestershire, one of them called gunpowder, hamburger seasoning. We like gunpowder. Got like that. It's like gunpowder, what they call hamburgers. And it's good on hamburger, meatloaf, anything you want to put it on.
Get a bang.
Get a bang. It's not spicy. Ain't none of it's too spicy. Even a sausage seasoning. And if you like to taste of sausage in your food, you put it in your hamburger and it give you a sausage. Hey.
Did you get that at Todd's? Sausage seasoning? Because we could never find it.
I find someone in town, but I go straight to the man that makes it. So I got all kind of flavor. I buy them by the case. That Montreal go good. This green seasoning, you eat a lot of salad. That green seasoning right there, you can shake it in face. Green beans, collard green, anything you're gonna cook.
So you mixed it all together already?
Already. I put Worcestershire in the hamburger. You see them little dark spots? I put Worcestershire. Just enough. We're going to cut up some onions too. We're going to saute the onions on here. I already did the muffin last night. Me and my wife, we fought making muffin. That's my wife. Y'all listen to my water? Everyone stayed in the bedroom. You do? I've been cooking with my mom and dad, and they both have passed, but that's how I learned how to cook. When I was 12, 13, they could leave me in the kitchen, run to the store and get something else, while I was letting out cooking. My dad could cook a 7-course meal for the whole community. That's the way we started doing it. We put master on the grill.
It's kind of just a linchpin, you know? Yeah. It's a commonality, but it's much better.
I got it. There's a lot of things for this food that somebody clarify about it. Maybe nurse. Amen. Why do you need? For what? Yes, someone really want to better than me. But can it take the test of time? We'll have to wait and see. But still, leave me for what? Maybe a few people have shelter on their soul. That's just a test for Christian folk with their righteous soul. But back to the matter at hand, leave me for what? And I quote, "And I am your God. I have seen so much pains and tears. I built this church with good material. How you think it stood through so many years? For you have a place to worship and trust, and for those who leave me, you just remember, I know for it." There y'all go.
From India, who was in I teach a yoga class at the Wellness Center here in Tupelo, and a lady from India that was coming to my class at the time, she saw it and she said, you know, I'd be happy to do that in my home and teach Indian food. And so, you know, that's kind of where I just saw, you know, there's something here.
Right.
And and it's just so powerful that.
And it kind of came together.
Yes.
Like naturally, so to speak, you know?
Oh, and also something else that contributed to the name Cooking as First Language. At the time, I was going to ESL some, which is English as a Second Language, and that, you know, that's taught here in the Baptist Church, and just people who don't speak English who live here in Tupelo have access to that service where they can go and learn.
That skill.
Yeah. So like English language learners here in Tupelo can go and do that. And so I was inspired by that title. And so I thought, you know, they're learning English as
tell me about where we are. Like, these grounds are beautiful. Like, where are we?
Yes, so we are at All Saints Episcopal. And it's such a lovely day today too. It's sunny. It is hot. It's so hot in Mississippi.
Well, under these trees, it doesn't feel bad at all.
Well, it's decent right now, but I can tell you right now that
We're gonna be on fire
it's
later.
limited. It might be coolish today, but it's about to be 100,000 degrees for the rest of the summer. Yeah.
So with the school, I mean, we had such a wonderful class today with Talvin Grease, right?
Yes.
And what struck me the most, just through our conversations, is how diverse Tupelo is. Like, I never would have imagined that until you started telling me about all of these classes, the classes and all of the countries that they're representing.
That to me is the most inspiring thing about cooking as a first language, is just to see how many countries, cultures are represented here in this small southern town.
Right.
I'm so thrilled by that, because I have lived in a bigger city before. I've lived in Birmingham, Alabama. I've lived in Jackson, Mississippi. And I really loved living in those bigger places. I was a little sad to leave and come to a smaller place, but now that I know how diverse our community is, I feel really good about it, about being here.
Right, because all of your classes have represented so many different countries, and just to see, like, even at our class today, because we had a southern food cooking class today with Talvin, and just the people in there, you know, you're representing so many different parts of the community and building these bridges.
Absolutely.
And it's extremely important, I would say always, but especially now, because there's so many different things socially that are going on. I think it's just a way to kind of create a level of empathy and begin to open up these communications, and sometimes have, you know, tough conversations.
Absolutely. It provides an opportunity for that, for sure. Because when you come from different backgrounds and different ways of thinking, and you come to a table, and you don't even think about all those things at that point in time. You're just all focused on preparing that food, preparing the meal, and then enjoying the meal together. And that's just kind of a starting point, a foundation for a relationship. And then all that other stuff, all the hard stuff, that can happen later.
Right.
After you have that common ground first. So important.
So with you growing up in Ripley, because I'm sure that there's probably a couple pieces of thread with your childhood that kind of led you into this direction. Maybe you realize it, or maybe you don't. Do you think there's anything with where you grew up, how you grew up, that kind of helped you end up in this spot?
Well,
with cooking as a first language?
I mean, absolutely. My mom, I mean, I've always seen her show so much hospitality to people. She's always been a great cook. We've hosted people in our home just my whole life, and I've witnessed her do that, and that definitely has something to do with it. And then when I got a little older, really high school, college age, just being able to do a little traveling. The first time I went out of the country was when I was in high school. And I just fell in love with travel and international places, and I think just that has a lot to do with just the inspiration to do international cooking, foods from other places. Because food and travel experience goes hand in hand.
Right,
so
definitely. And what would you say, like, just, I know for me, like, when I travel, it's one of those things where you just constantly, your senses are overloaded, right? Because the smells, it's the sights, it's the sounds, it's the people.
It is a feast for all the senses.
Right. And what from that do you, because I know you probably bring a lot of that, because you traveled a lot. So I know you probably
travel
bring a lot of that openness, that open-mindedness to what you're doing. So how do you just kind of tap into all of that? And
it's a little hard to answer. I mean, it's just so, I think, I'm not sure how to answer that, because I just do it. I don't know. Like,
that's it then.
you know, food is a huge thing with travel, because when you go places and you try new food, that was something I used to do with my blog. When I had my personal blog, I would go on a trip, eat something really inspiring, and then come home and kind of create my own recipe version and then post it on my blog. So it's just all like intertwined, food and travel and just the inspiration of all those things. Yeah. So I like to kind of feel like I'm recreating a little piece of that culture in my own home.
And exposing the family to that, exposing the kids to all of that.
Sharing with friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And today you can eat, like you can see it in everyone's face. I mean, you know, Talvin is cooking all of this food, and just every time he opens a different pot, everybody's like, you know, just in awe, and just the experience to share and to eat and break bread with one another. And like there were a couple of people there that knew, like you had some pods or families that came together, right?
Yeah.
But
and we usually do, but you know, we do these classes at least once a month. Sometimes more than once. It just depends on, because we love doing it, so we'll do it as much as possible. But at least once a month we do these classes, and that, you know, there are some people who come back time and again, but overall it is a different group every time, and so it's just like a whole different experience every single time, and I love that.
Yes,
I love that.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine that. You know, when we were in there talking, because I was also talking with the young lady and the gentleman, they work, I guess they volunteer with the church. Yes. And they were even talking about like preparing the various meals for tomorrow, and just like getting their spin on what the church has been doing, especially through with COVID, for the local. Still going through those issues, and probably those issues were more exacerbated, I guess, possibly through COVID. Yes, to see what they were doing.
This church is awesome as far as that goes. They do something called Saints Brew, and that's a free breakfast for anyone who needs it. And I think it's most every morning. I think it is. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's like every morning.
Yeah, see where she was cooking a ton and just chopping up everything. I think they were doing red beans and rice. I think they were doing tomatoes, chopping up some green peppers and onions and sausage and all that stuff. Just she was like, you know, if I can just get the prep out the way, then I just have a few hours tomorrow to do everything. But just to see everyone just enjoying the company of strangers. You know, while Talvin was cooking, and just talking about different tips on how to cook. And even with the cornbread, like with the burgers and the cornbread and the pulled pork and the ribs and all these different tips that he was giving people, and the barbecue sauce, just for them to really kind of see what it is that, for them just to see what it is that brought a smile to his face, for him to even want to be here to do that, and then to take some of that back and join and to share it with other people. You know, and like I said, most of us are strangers, and we were able to talk as if we were friends.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the magic, like between it, with when you're just really looking at the connections between the power of food and us, the human story, our story. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just so inspiring. It gives me chills every time I think about it.
Right. You're doing amazing work here.
Oh, I just love it. I love it so much.
It's amazing work, because you never know what you're sparking in other people. You never know what could be something potential that, because I think we all have our biases, right? And you never know what things you're changing just through food. It's a very simple thing, so simplistic, but very, very, very powerful. And when you use it in the right way, you know, you can really alter people's thought process.
I think it's easy to make assumptions about specific cultures, and like, I mean, I'm sure I do it. You know, you hear maybe a certain culture and you automatically think, oh, that's, whether good or bad, you know. And but the matter of fact is, you really don't know. And so when you offer this opportunity for someone who is from a particular culture to come in and teach something of themselves, it's an opportunity for people to see that maybe they didn't know everything they thought they did.
Right, and it's really giving them themselves, because they're opening up themselves. You know, they're sharing a part of themselves. And to one, as I said before when we were talking, just to have people that are willing to do that, because sometimes it can be kind of scary to open up who you are. To share about yourself, to share about your culture. Somebody might think it's odd, or somebody might think it's this, but to be brave enough and to share that. I know they have to feel empowered too. Like what the people that host these classes with you that you invite from so many countries around the world, what do they say? What are they telling you?
They enjoy it. They really enjoy it. One of my good friends who is from the Caribbean islands of St. Kitts and Nevis, she, the very first time, back before I knew her very well, it was the first time she ever did a cooking class for us. She just kind of broke down and cried because when she saw people sitting around the table eating her food, she just was kind of overcome with emotion that, you know, she had kind of recently relocated to Tupelo, Mississippi, and it's a new place for her. It's not as familiar, you know, but just to see people enjoying her culture around the table that way, she just became emotional about it in a good way. And so that's some feedback that I've gotten before. And also I've had people be a little nervous about it beforehand, but then after it was over, they said, I was so glad I did that. I really, you know, people enjoy it. It means a lot to them. And my hope through cooking as a first language is to offer people who have relocated here from other places, I want to offer them the opportunity to feel embraced and loved and even celebrated here in Tupelo, Mississippi.
And with it, and there again, I think this has been going on for quite some time, especially with like the start of like the beginning of last summer with all of the social injustices, things that all of that that's going on. How do you see that kind of transpiring here in Tupelo? Like how do you see that, and how do you see cooking as a first language as being something that can kind of go against that, you know?
We're just going to keep doing what we're doing and just keep bringing in people from every culture we can find here, and just showing people here in Tupelo that these are people. We're all people. We're all, you know, we all want to feel connected to others. We all want to feel loved and valued, validated. And so that's what we hope to do with cooking as first language, and we're just going to keep doing it.
Without any human intervention. So that happens when bees abandon a beehive. Heat from the sun melts the wax, seals up the hive. Rainwater gets in. There's natural yeast in the air to start the fermentation process, and it'll make mead. It may not be really great mead, but it'll make mead. So back when humans on the planet were hunter-gatherers, well, anytime they could find honey was a treat. But occasionally they would find these hives with this liquid in it. So they would drink it because it had to taste better than what was in the creek, right? Which was their only other option. So not only did it taste good, it made them feel really good. And they had no clue what was happening to them because nothing else in their world did this. So their only explanation was that the gods had left them a gift. And so we think they were right. Funny. So mead, the definition of mead is any beverage where the main fermentable is honey. In our instance, all of ours are wine style mead, so this is exactly the same process as winemaking. The only difference is the main fermentable is honey instead of grapes. So I'm going to start you dry and work you to sweet. We typically start with a traditional mead. Traditional meaning the only thing in there is honey and water, but I'm sold out of that one. So we'll start you with the next best thing. This is actually our Pinot Noir mead. So it's got Pinot Noir grapes in it as well as honey. All of the honey in our meads comes from within the state of Mississippi, so we're considered by the state to be a native winery. We have great honey here because we have something blooming almost year-round. So we kind of decided when we started doing this, well, let's show off what's beautiful about our state. We're not going to be a grape state. We don't have the right soil for that, but we have great honey, so why not show that off, right? So that was our philosophy. That's our thought process behind it. This one is a Pinot Noir mead, so it's got Pinot Noir grapes in it as well as honey. We don't grow those Pinot Noir grapes in Mississippi. We ship those in from California. We just make them better by adding our Mississippi honey to it. So all of this goes in the tank at the same time. So the grapes and the honey all go in the tank. So it's not a Pinot Noir wine and a mead blended. The grapes and the honey go in at the same time, all ferment together.
Just getting to know each other.
Right, exactly.
Thank you. Okay, I can't let it like.
Yeah, let me go there.
Yeah. Thank you.
So this one is our Pinot Noir
Okay.
mead.
It's very dry.
Yeah, it's very dry.
It is
very much like a. So this one I think is fun. This is one of our most award-winning meads. I like this one because this one we call the crossover mead. So it's for those wine lovers, those really people that just love their wine. They're a little skeptical when they come in here because I'm messing with what they love, right? So they're a little leery, but usually if I can get them to taste this one, then they trust me a little more.
Right.
But so this has that beautiful red wine flavor.
It does.
What I love about this one is the honey seems to kind of neutralize some of those tannins that you typically get in a red wine.
Yes.
But there's no tannins in honey.
Yes.
So it softens that finish a little bit. It makes it not quite so harsh. Yes, yes.
Like kind of bitter.
Right, that makes you feel like your teeth are sticking to your lip.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so that's kind of fun. Anyway, so it's just a kind of a nice little perk. Okay, so this one is a lot of fun. This one is our chocolate covered cherry. This is our newest release. We just made this one and released this one during Valentine's Day, so it's brand new. It's not super sweet like that candy that hurts your teeth that you get at Christmas time. It's not like that. It's actually a very tart cherry, and you'll taste that velvety chocolate on the finish. This one right now is my favorite. It changes. It kind of goes around, you know. But right now, this is what I'm taking home with me.
Right.
And I usually don't do too many dries, but this is a very mild.
It's a mild dry. It absolutely because of the lack of tannins in it is I think a big part. This one's a lot of fun. We've gotten a lot of attention with this one, just because it's different. I mean, heck, people say diamond's a girl's best friend. Honey, put chocolate in wine, and now we're talking. now I'm listening to it. Yeah. And it's all natural flavors. It's not made with anything artificial.
You can smell it. Now, can you taste it? But you can
it's
smell
subtle.
it.
I get the chocolate on the finish. Isn't that funny? The chocolate's kind of more on the finish than it is really.
It does taste like a chocolate covered cherry.
Isn't that fun?
It genuinely does.
To me, that's a 2-sip.
How do you do that? How do you get that into a wine?
So the truth is, we make a tart cherry mead. So this has cherries and honey in it on the front end. And then once the fermentation is finished, we age it with cocoa nibs because it has that chocolate flavor, but it doesn't have the cocoa oils, which you don't want oil. Obviously, that would be disgusting. So that's how you get that chocolate flavor in there. So you're not adding any artificial. But those cocoa nibs have that dark chocolate flavoring to the.
Where?
It's fun though, right?
I like this one.
The cherry is riding
right.
And then the chocolate kind of
sneaks in on the back, right? Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, that tastes nice.
Good. I'm glad you like that one. That one's fun. We've had a lot of fun with that one. So this one's a lot of fun. This one is our Ruby, is what we call it. It's a cranberry mead, a little bit of orange to kind of balance the bitterness of the cranberry. This one is fabulous for turkey dinner on Thanksgiving, but it is also crisp and sweet and refreshing. It's awesome to sit on your back porch in the middle of the summertime and watch the world go by. So it's great. It's not really when we made this one. Our intention was Thanksgiving. That's what we're thinking. Okay. This is one of my favorite ones to drink in the summertime.
Did you release like right before Thanksgiving?
Well, we keep this one we try to keep this one all the time if we can get it made before we run out. That's really been our biggest struggle with this. And all of these, just so you know, is between 11 and 14% ABV, just like a wine you would buy at your local liquor store. Okay. So this one, so here's our biggest struggle. To make mead, it's not a super fast process. It's about a 2-month turnover. That's the quickest that we can get mead in the tank and get it back out. So honey goes in the tank with whatever fruits we may be adding or just the honey.
But are you all having issues with honey with the bee?
Not so far. We have a beekeeper here in Mississippi that we actually get all of our honey from. We have bought, just this year we bought over 11,000 pounds of honey from this guy. So we go through lots and lots of honey. He is awesome. We interviewed several beekeepers when we were getting started with this, and I was shocked. Right, that one's good, right? I was shocked to discover there are beekeepers out there that don't take care of their bees. That to me is like, I mean, I can't even think of a good example. Like, why would you do that? So we met this one beekeeper that was much older that wanted us to buy his honey. But so in the wintertime, you're either supposed to feed the bees or leave honey in the hives.
This one
totally different, right? Fresh and light and crisp, yeah.
Was this one colder?
Yes, these two were room temp, and this one we served chilled, yeah. So we interviewed several beekeepers, and this one beekeeper that we met is an older guy, so he's been doing this a long time. You're supposed to feed the bees in the wintertime. His response was, well, I just sell that honey, and I get new bees in the spring. So he basically making this honey for is for themselves.
Right, but if you're pulling it out
and selling it.
do they leave a certain amount of honey in there?
Well, most beekeepers do. They either leave honey in the hive or feed the bees with a simple syrup that they can eat that has nutrients in it. But this guy didn't. He just lets them die and gets new bees in the spring. And I was like, just blown away. So this beekeeper that we have, so place because of what I had experienced with this other guy. So I go in. His honey house is nice and clean. We're talking to him. We're standing there, and this little honeybee flies by, and he goes, "Oh, there goes one of my girls right now." And I'm like, "Yeah, if that's your girl, then you're who I'm." And he does an awesome job, and he's grown as we've grown, and he's family at this point.
Yep, we definitely glossed over the fact that Tupelo is the birthplace of Elvis, and that was intentional because Tupelo is so much more than that. From Lauren McElwain, creating cooking as a first language to break down barriers and to build up community over food, to Talvin Grice, whose heart is filled with the love of cooking, a spark ignited by his parents as a young kid. And what about Jerry Carter, owner of Queen's Reward, her love of Mississippi and being able to create meads using Mississippi honey? Tupelo is a place filled with people who want to show the best of Mississippi. And what an interesting time for this state. On January 11, 2021, the 126-year-old flag, which incorporated elements of the Confederate battle flag, was pulled down, and a new flag rose in its place, a flag showing the magnolia flower as the center, with signs of respect and homage paid to the Choctaw, B.B. King, and William Faulkner. The magnolia isn't a new idea on the Mississippi flag, but for this iteration of the flag, the magnolia, which stands front and center, was designed by Sue Anna Joe, a Chinese-American web designer. She was inspired by the memory of the flowering tree from her childhood growing up in Greenwood, Mississippi. But just think, if her family did not immigrate from Haoping, China in the 1960s, this particular iteration just may not have occurred. And so, with an overwhelming 73%, the referendum passed to change the flag, hopefully as a bridge to something better. Lauren, Talvin, and Jerry each hold Tupelo close to their hearts, and in their own way are using their power of food as a bridge to something better in their communities.